Hey guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It's 9 o'clock on a Sunday, which means it's time for a review show special. Now, this is where I take a deep dive into a particular company, a particular creator, a particular artist, and I kind of go deep into the products that they've brought out. And today, I'm going to be doing another Penguin Magic review show special, but with a twist, because this is all routines that have recently been released by Paul Wilson. Now, if you don't know who Paul Wilson is, Paul Wilson is considered one of the greatest sleight of hand artists, one of the greatest creators, magical thinkers, magicians in the whole world, and has been creating and releasing magic as far back as I can remember. He's been the star of various different TV shows and consulted on a ton of different stuff, created a bunch of magic, and more recently he's been releasing magic with Penguin Magic. I say releasing, a lot of the stuff that he's released are things that he brought out many years ago that have been off the market for a long time, that Penguin are now breathing new life into. And we're going to look at 3 of these effects. I will tell you, I'm a huge fan of Paul Wilson. I always have been. I think he's an incredible magician. I think he's an incredible creator. His thinking and his kind of approach to magic influenced me an awful lot, especially in my kind of formative days when I was kind of first getting into sleight of hand. And I'll never forget one of the very first lectures I did. It was kind of a big deal. I was booked to lecture at a Scottish convention. It was like a landmark Scottish convention. I went up there with David Penn. He was lecturing, I was lecturing, and I opened the lecture. It was a whole day. I opened it up, and there were a lot of people in the audience. I was nervous anyway, and I was planning on doing a lecture on coin magic. And if you don't know, Paul Wilson is an incredible coin magician as well. And I walked out and I looked at the front row, and there's our Paul Wilson sitting there, and I have never been so nervous in my life. I was kind of saying to myself, this guy is just a punter. Why in the hell are they booking me to talk about coin magic when they've got Paul Wilson here just as a punter? But it went really well. But the reason I'm telling you that is because I'm going to be 100% honest with these reviews. Even though I am a bit of a Paul Wilson fanboy, I am going to give you my honest and unbiased opinion. And we're going to start off with Jumper. So this is Jumper by Paul Wilson, which is in essence a 2-card transposition routine. Now, I've got a lot to say about this, but before I say anything, we're going to have a look at a performance. So this is a performance of me performing one of the routines off Jumper to Jack. Let's have a look at that one right now. This is a card trick, but it's not really a card trick. It's really kind of more of a demonstration of the possibility of the existence of time travel. Oh. Now, I know you're into sci-fi and genre TV, so do you believe that it's possible to travel backwards and forwards in time?
I don't know, because I think if it happened in the future, wouldn't someone have came back and told us by now?
But would they let us know? Would they know? That's the question.
I don't know.
Well, I'm going to prove to you that time travel does exist, using a deck of cards, and 2 cards in particular, because that way it's easier to follow. I'm going to use the Queen of Hearts and the King of Spades.
Nice.
And using these 2 cards, I can prove to you categorically, without a shadow of a doubt, that time travel is possible. But it's really important that you keep an eye on everything so you know I'm not cheating. The Queen stays right there on top of the deck.
Yep.
And the King goes into the middle of the deck, sticking out like that. And I want you to remember this point in time where the King is sticking out the deck from the front and the Queen is on top of the deck. It's very important that you remember that moment in time, okay?
Okay.
Because the King goes now into the middle of the deck, and I'm going to take the Queen. And I want you to watch the Queen and don't blink for a minute, okay? Now I'm going to leave the Queen sticking out the middle of the deck as well. So just so you can see, right now, the Queen is sticking out the middle of the deck, right?
Yep.
Now watch. This is where the time travel happens. Watch the Queen. Make sure I don't cheat. There's no sneaky sleight of hand or anything. Watch. This is the moment that time travel happens. See, we just went back in time about 10 seconds.
Did we?
Yeah, we went back in time to when the Queen was on top of the deck and the King was right there at the middle, sticking out. And that, my friend, is proof that time travel exists. So that's Jumper. And it is a really, really, really strong effect. Now, let's talk about what you get. So first of all, you're going to get a tutorial with this. The tutorial is about half an hour long. There's a live performance, and then Paul Wilson is sitting in the Penguin studio, basically explaining the history behind the effect, the crediting behind the effect, then going into what the gimmick is, how to incorporate the gimmick into the deck, the main routine, which you saw me perform, and then lots and lots and lots of variations and lots of other ways of using this gimmick. Now, what's really cool about this is one gimmicked card. So you get one single solitary gimmick card that you can put into your deck. Now, when you start the performance, it's a normal shuffle deck of cards. You just need this card on top. So you can get this card onto the deck in so many different ways. You can take the cards out the box, leave this gimmick card in there, and then put the cards away and go, oh, let me show you one last thing, and you've added it to the deck. You can put it under the cellophane of the card box, put the cards on top of the card box, and as you take it away, you've stolen it. You can have it in your pocket, and you can palm it off onto that. There's so many different ways of getting into this. So it's not like it's a fully gaffed deck. It's not like it's going to be a nightmare to ring in. It's one gaffed card, and the rest of the cards can be shuffled in any order. Now, once you've got that gaffed card in play, which is, you ask, a lot of people ask me, is the gimmick well made? Is it not well made? It's a custom printed card, and you can tell it's printed by the USPCC playing card company. So it's good. It's great. It's going to last as long as a normal playing card would. So once that gimmick's in place, you can go into any routine you want to go into. And you don't even need to go into this routine straight away. It's not like this gimmick being in the deck is going to affect other routines. It's not. You could still do probably almost any other routine you wanted to do, and you could go into this when you wanted to. So you can have the gimmick in the deck and go, and just have it there ready for when you want to perform if you want to. There's so many different options. But in terms of the actual routine that you saw me do there, which is kind of the main routine, it's very easy to do. Now, Paul Wilson spends a long time talking about the technique and talking about exactly how to perform the routine. And the performance you just saw, that's the first time I've performed it. I'm going to include this in my act. I love the idea of carrying this single card around with me. So it's something I'm going to include. It is something I'm going to do. But it might take me a little time to get it into position. Not because it's difficult. I want to make sure I've nailed the the performance. But it's there. The routine that you saw, it's very easy to do. There's no difficult moves. Paul Wilson explains everything very, very cleanly. He talks about how to have it all examined at the beginning, how to have the two cards examined, how to do the routine and immediately clean it up. He talks about how to do a version in the spectator's hands off the table. The key thing behind this, and the thing that Paul really stresses, is the presentation behind the effect. And what I mean by that is he talks about the presentation being key. Now, he goes through a few different ways of presenting it, but his favorite presentation uses kind of like a back in time style premise. And I do think for this type of routine, it's effectively a transposition. That is a great way to present this trick. So, there's nothing else to tell you. If you liked the performance, then what you get is not going to surprise you. It's, like I say, it's fairly easy to do. It's just intermediate card moves that you'll be able to do relatively easily. And he goes through everything with a fine-tooth comb. I'm going to give this 95%. I think this is great. I've always loved routines where you've got one gaffed card that you add into the deck and you can kind of go in lots of different directions. And this is a real good one. So 95%. If you want Jumper, you can get it directly from Penguin Magic. Now we're going to move on to the second routine. Okay, so the second thing we're going to be looking at is Fantasy. Now it's spelled fan, numerical 2, and then C. And the history behind this effect is quite interesting. So I remember getting the PDF for this years ago, and I don't think I ever made it up. I might be wrong. I'm not too sure. But I definitely remember reading it, and I'm pretty sure I didn't make it up. But it was originally sold many, many years ago as a manuscript, and in the manuscript, Paul told you how to create the gimmick, and you had to go and create it. The history behind this is it is effectively a way of changing a fan of 5 cards that are kind of the worst poker hand in the world into a royal flush, or whatever it is that you want to turn it into. That's effectively what this is. Now, Paul Wilson talks on the project about how he spent years and years and years learning hand mucking and learning various different sleights to be able to do this using sleight of hand, and then he created this, and he references Zapped, you know, if you remember Zapped from back in the day, and said that you know, this is an examinable version of Zapped. Now, like I said, I had this years and years and years ago, and never made the gimmick up, and I think a lot of people didn't. I had a lot of friends at the time that bought the trick and didn't make the gimmick up. Well, what Penguin are doing here is they have created the gimmick for you. So what you needed to make back in the day, you are getting included in the package. You're not just getting the gimmick, but you're also, this gimmick has been improved. It's been, they've added a magnet, which helps with a few different ways. And I'm not going to get into how it helps, because I don't want to go through any exposure, but it really does help. Now, the nice thing about this is it's almost moveless. And on the tutorial, Paul goes through so many different ways of doing this. He goes through kind of like the classic handling, so the way that, you know, he taught it back in the day, so to speak. He goes through how to do that, talks about angles, talks about how to make it work, so on and so forth. And then he goes through how to do it. He talks about how to do it. He's got new ways. I'm trying to put this across without actually exposing it. He's got new ways of actually performing this effect. So he's got 3 or 4 new ways of doing it, different ways of actually handling the effect, different ways of actually making it work. And one of my favorite ways of doing this, having watched the tutorial, is one of the new handlings. And then obviously the fact that this gimmick has got a magnet really helps you clean things up as well, because it means that you can do the change now for the first time completely hands off. So you could take, for example, 5 cards out of the deck, and you can just take those cards and lay them down on the table. Take a card box, for example, just wave the card box over, and the cards have changed, and they're instantly examinable. And that's one of the key things about this particular effect. It's instantly examinable, unlike a lot of other ways of doing this, where the cards can't be examined, this can. So the second that you actually do the change, all the cards on the table, or all the cards in your hand, or all the cards in the spectator's hands can be examined immediately. And the gimmick is not very big. It's the sort of thing that you could palm very, very easily. So you could, for example, have a deck of cards, have the cards shuffled, take 5 cards out, and as they're taking the 5 cards out, you get the gimmick in palm. You add the gimmick to the 5 cards when you take them. And now you're into the routine. It's very quick, it's very visual. There's not really a routine to this. There's not really a presentation or a story. It's very quick and it's very visual. In that regard, it would make a great opener if you wanted to use it as an opener. Or if you're doing a gambling demonstration and you wanted to show someone what a switch of 4 cards looks like in full view, if they actually see the cards changing face up. You know, there's a few different ways you could actually perform this. There's a few different ways that this could fit into a performance. I have a feeling we're going to see a lot of people doing this on social media, because it's perfect for social media. It looks just amazing. The fact that you've now got the gimmick that's been improved, so you don't actually need to even use your hands, makes it even better for social media. There's handlings that use a table with a close-up pad, and then there's handlings that are designed to be done up here, where you don't actually need a table at all. And because the gimmick is taken away during the course of the change, at the end, it's, yeah, as I said, everything is completely examinable. Now, I'm going to give it a rating, but before I do, I want to show you the trailer for this. Now, the reason I'm showing you the trailer and I'm not performing it myself is I want to do this review, and I don't think I'm ready to actually perform it on camera. I don't want to actually you know, perform this trick and make it look, this is such a beautiful effect that I want to do it justice. So at some point I'm going to do this as a short, so I'm going to do this as a Magic Live or something, but for now I don't want to perform it, because I don't want people to think that, it's not I don't want people to think, I want it, I don't want to, it's such a beautiful effect. I want to make sure that the performance reflects how good the effect is. So instead, I'm going to show you the trailer. The trailer's only 1 minute long if you haven't seen it, and it's Paul doing it several times to camera, so you can see what the change looks like.
Is a gimmick that allows you to change a terrible 5-card poker hand for a royal flush. Best of all, The Fan 2C gimmick allows you to do this with almost no sleight of hand. About 20 years ago, I spent thousands of hours learning how to change 5 cards for 5 other cards with nothing but sleight of hand. But you can get exactly the same effect with Fan 2C. This version comes with a pre-made gimmick that has a super simple secret that allows for super simple and highly visual transformations. I teach multiple methods, both for live performance and Instagram and social media. My name is R. Paul Wilson, and this is Fan 2C.
So there you go, that's Fantasy. It looks amazing. I will be doing a video on this channel soon showing you a performance of me doing it. But this is something that I'm definitely wanting to do. I showed it Ryland. This is something Ryland wants to do as well, but only on social media, which I can kind of get. But whether you're a social media magician, whether you're a walk-around magician, a close-up magician, this is something that you could do, especially if you do gambling demonstrations. If you do gambling demonstrations or you talk about the 3-card Monty or something like this is absolutely worth the weight in gold. I'm going to give this 99%. I think this is fantastic, and the price is an absolute steal. You'll be doing this, you'll be learning it, you'll be doing it. I can't imagine this going into anyone's bottom drawer. It's a fantastic effect. Okay, so the final trick that's on the Paul Wilson Penguin Magic Review Show special is a trick called Spectrum. Now, this is slightly different to the other 2 routines that I showed because this has been out a little bit longer. It's been out a couple of years, and this is one of those only Paul Wilson tricks that I've never really kind of spent too much time looking at or learning. I've been aware of it, and I knew that Penguin Magic a couple of years ago had brought it back out. But I'd never really kind of sat down and learnt it. Now I have. I'm very impressed. I actually do something similar to this, but very, very different as well. It's not a color changing deck. I go in a different direction with it. But this is a really well thought out, well constructed routine where you're kind of bringing everything full circle at the end presentationally. And the magic happens really on the offbeat. It's a little bit like a Gate and Bloom style moment where the deck changes color and they don't even see it change color. It just changes color. Now, I'm going to show you a performance to Jack, first of all, and look at Jack's reaction when he realizes the deck has changed color towards the end of the routine. He just kind of almost does a cartoon style double take. That's the power this trick has on people. Let's have a look at this performance, and then after that, we'll talk about what we think. I am about to show you the greatest card trick of all time.
It's a very bold statement.
It is, because I'm even going to tell you what the name of the trick is beforehand. Watch. This is called the color changing deck. Are you ready?
Sure.
What color is the box?
Red and white.
Watch. That is the color changing deck. Because just by snapping my fingers, the deck turns blue. Isn't that amazing? It was red inside the box, and then it turned blue inside the box. Are you impressed?
If I'd seen it happen, maybe.
Well, it happened. It just happened inside the box. I can't believe that you think I'd lie to you, because I wouldn't. But let's see if we can go one step further. I could have you pick a card, but I'm not going to do that. Instead, I want to make it fair, because I can tell that you're not vibing what I'm doing right now, so I'm going to make it even fairer. I'm just going to spread through, and I want you to think of a card. Have you got one?
Yep.
You got a card?
Yep.
No way I can know what that card is. No?
Oh.
I could go through and find your card, but I'm going to go one step further. I'm going to make it a little bit harder for myself. I'm going to divide the deck into 2 halves, right? Mm-hmm. Face up and face down. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and figure out what your card is, but bearing in mind, you just thought of one. Now, first of all, the first part, which is kind of hard, is I need to work out whether your card is one of the face-up cards or face-down cards. Concentrate on your card. Don't tell me. I'm just going to go through. Let me see. I'm going to look at the face-up cards and see if I can get some sort of vibe for your card. You concentrating on your card, Jack?
Yeah.
Concentrate harder. I'm not getting a vibe here. Keep concentrating. Yeah. If you see your card, scream it in your head. But only in your head. I don't see your card. I don't think that your card is one of the face-up cards, which means it's got to be one of the face-up, face-down cards. Jack, is your card face-up? Is your
Yes.
card? What?
It is.
Really?
Yep.
What was your card?
5 of hearts.
That one?
Yep.
Would you like to see a coin trick, Jack? I'm better at coin tricks. Would you like to?
You're going to finish this one?
Well, it's not really going like I hoped it would, to be perfectly honest. First of all, you weren't impressed with the colour changing deck part. Then I completely failed to find your card. I suppose I could do something. Look, we've got the cards face up and face down, right?
Yeah.
Watch. Done.
What's done?
Well, now all of the cards are facing down. I sorted them all out. They're all facing the right way, every single one of them.
Wow.
See, that's what I do when I do that. What happens is it makes all of the cards turn face down. But do you remember what I called this trick right at the very beginning?
Greatest card trick in the world.
No, I called it the colour changing deck. Do you remember that? Hold your hand out for me, Jack. Watch. Maybe it's not that the deck changes colour. Maybe it's that your card changes colour. But that's not as good as the entire deck changing colour. But if I snap my fingers, look over here, because now the entire deck has changed colour to red all the way through. Every single one of these cards, all the way through, every single card has changed colour to red. And that, my friend, is the colour changing deck. What do you reckon? Was that better?
That was much better.
Was that much better? Brilliant.
So yeah, I mean, wow, I love that. Now, a few things that you need to know. First of all, this trick is very, very easy to perform. It's a gimmick deck, and the gimmick deck does all the work for you. So with basically no sleight of hand, you are able to do exactly what you saw me do. In fact, I'm just walking through it in my mind. There really is no sleight of hand at all. Which is great. Now, the tutorial for this is perfect. Paul explains everything with a fine-tooth comb. Now, the fact that it's so easy because it's a gimmick deck, it does mean that the deck is not examinable. So at the beginning of the trick, the deck is not examinable. It looks like it could be examinable because you've got some very clean displays of blue-backed cards and faces and everything you would expect to have with a deck, but it is a special deck, so it can't be examined. It can't be examined at any point in the routine, and when you finish the routine, it can't be examined either. Now, Paul does have ways of openly resetting this trick in front of the audience, which you can do if you want to, or if you don't want to do that, you can walk away from the table and you can probably reset this in about 10 or 15 seconds. So the reset is really quick. You don't need a table realistically, although I did use a table. You don't need a table. It can be done walk around relatively easily. The moment where I was looking through the cards and I was taking cards off the top and the bottom and effectively alternating those cards, I plan on using a faro shuffle for that. And just basically a faro shuffle. If you do a perfect faro, it would accomplish the same thing. I didn't do a perfect faro. I didn't do a faro on the performance because I wanted you to see exactly what it looked like when you're taught it. And I think I understand why they did it that way, because that way anybody can do it. You know, if you bring a trick out and you go, right, at this point do a perfect faro, people are going to be kind of a little bit nervous about that, right? So you don't need to do a perfect faro, but I do think that if you can do one, that would make that particular part of the routine a little bit quicker. It looks great. That's the other thing. I love the fact that they can clearly see that the cards are alternating red and black, and then boom, sorry, not red and black, face up and face down, and then boom, with no moves, they sort themselves out so they're all facing the right way. That looks incredible. And then, you know, the other nice thing about this is they get a free choice of any card. Don't underestimate that. You're literally telling them to think of any card, and the card that they have thought of is the one that turns red, and then all the others turn red. And my favorite part of this routine, and the reason that this is going to get a great review, is because I love that moment where the deck changed color from blue to red without you going anywhere near it. They see a blue deck, the card turns red, and when they look back, the entire deck has turned red. It looks so strong, easy to do, but oh my gosh, so impressive. Nothing else really needs to be said. Yeah, the cards can't be examined, although at the end, you've got a really nice display where you're showing everything. You're showing the fronts and the backs of all of the cards. I don't think people are going to want to examine these cards, to be honest. But if you're worried about that, or you're concerned about your ability to manage an audience, or you're worried that in the environment in which you perform, people are a little bit grabby, that's something to consider. The deck is not examinable. I personally don't think it's an issue, but it's something that you need to bear in mind. But yeah, I mean, it's a great combination of Triumph, a thought of card routine, and a color changing deck. It looks fantastic. You'll be learning it within a few seconds. The cards are really well made. They are perfect for what you need to do to them. I'm going to give this 89% out of the 3 tricks that I saw. This is the in this particular review show. This is the one that's maybe, I don't want to say weaker because it's not. It's still amazing, but this is the one that's probably. This is not the highest marked one. It's still great. It's still 89%. I would still absolutely perform it. But the other 2, I think, were a little bit more impressive for me. Having said that, Spectrum is a fantastic Triumph stroke color changing deck, and I think that anybody who buys it will not be disappointed. So there you go, guys. That's another review show in the bag. This was your R. Paul Wilson Penguin Magic review show special. I'm going to be back with another review show special very, very soon, next week. If you haven't already done so, please check out the Q&A from earlier on today. Also, if you haven't done so, please check out the interview that I did on Saturday. We've got Magic Lives that you can. There's a ton of stuff happening on Magic TV right now. But I want to say thank you very much for watching the channel. Thank you for subscribing. If you do, leave a comment down below. I will see you again soon. Don't forget, join the NETRIX. Can't forget that. www.thenetrix.com, my online streaming platform. But regardless, I'll see you again soon. My name's Craig from Magic TV.